Hey, Stacey David here with Tales of a Gearhead podcast. This podcast is about all things automotive from any time, any place, and beyond. All right, let's get to it. All right, well, we've got a special guest back here today. You have heard him on the podcast before. It's my buddy Don Russell from Cornwell Tools. And Don is here. We're talking about this new ARCA Series toolbox. And I know you're probably thinking, well, it's a toolbox. No, it's not just a toolbox. And Don, let's talk about this ARCA Series box. Why isn't it just a toolbox? I mean, you got the Professional Series, you've got the Platinum Series. They're all great boxes, all different price points. Where does the ARCA Series fall? What's the deal with the ARCA Series?
The ARCA Series was actually intended as a replacement to the Pro Series.
Okay.
We had some evolutionary things we needed to do to the box.
Yeah.
There were some things that we wanted to do different, we wanted to do better, and ARCA is a culmination of all those wishes.
Does that mean my Pro Series boxes are collector's items now?
They are. They absolutely are.
Okay, so the ARCA Series is replacing the Professional Series, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so how does it differ from the big Platinum Series? Because that's a big box. It's wide, it's big. You've seen us put vehicles on them.
Right.
How does the ARCA Series fit in there? Is it as strong? Is it as big?
It's as strong.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, it is. It's as strong. It's a little bit of a smaller box. It's not as deep as a Platinum because there's some people that can't afford enough 30 inches of space.
Yeah, that's a big box.
That's a big box. So this is a bit smaller.
Okay.
It's a smaller box. It's a lighter box without sacrificing quality. The Platinum Series has 3 roll cages. The ARCA has 2. Mm-hmm. We've learned that 2 gives you a tremendous amount of strength, far more strength than the Pro Series had.
Good. So the Series has been going well for it?
The Series has been going very well.
Now, one of the unique things about this, if you guys haven't seen it, you need to check out Cornwell Tools and look at the colors that they've got for this ARCA box. I mean, they're really cool. And the thing that'll catch your eye is that none of them are gloss colors. They're more of a matte finish. A lot of them have metallic in them. And they have a texture to them. Now let's talk about that. Why did you guys go with that and those colors?
Well, we wanted a unique paint for Cornwell. We wanted a unique paint specifically for ARCA.
You're not talking just a color. You're talking about a paint style.
I'm talking a paint style. I'm talking texture. I'm talking the mica or the metallic that's in there.
Okay.
We refer to it as the payload. And that's everything that's in the powder paint.
That's such a tool guy. It's a payload, man.
They called it a package when I was at the Sherwin-Williams. And I'm going, no. It's a payload. It's a payload. Right? So
tool guys can't talk about packages, man.
You can't. It just doesn't work that way.
Yes. Okay. Anyway.
Especially when you're talking about glitter.
Yes.
It just
you
doesn't
can't
work.
put that. The glitter that you call mica.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
That's why you're the marketing guy.
So anyway, it's literally an exclusive formulation just for us, made just for the ARCA box, and the reception has been amazing. And the color,
I love the colors.
Oh, and the color palette we have is very dynamic.
It is very dynamic. Now, here's the thing. Don, I'm going to ask you straight out. What is your #1 selling color? Now, you guys out there that are listening, get in mind, they've got the typical, they've got the grays, the reds, the blues, the oranges, these kind of things. What do you think is their current #1 selling color? Don, what is it?
We call it vapor. You call it white.
Yes. A white toolbox. So the question for you guys listening, would you do a white toolbox? Now keep in mind, these actually look pretty cool, especially when you put the different color drawers on them or the different colors on the handles. You can really accent this thing up. I just know I'd get it so dirty.
I got to tell you about the testing we did on it.
Oh yeah,
on
tell
this
me
paint.
about that.
So I have a product manager that works for me that his father has a repair shop around the corner.
Okay.
So literally the technical amount of testing we did, we went over and said, we need a pail that includes every chemical you use in a repair garage.
Wow.
Transmission fluid, brake clean, brake fluid, gasoline, everything.
Okay.
And literally brought that into our lab and literally big hand gop and smacked it on the side and rubbed it into the paint and let it set there.
That's awesome.
And literally 3 spritzes of 409, wipe it off with a lint-free cloth. You wouldn't even know it was there.
Wow. And that's all of your colors?
Yeah. And the other cool thing with the texture is, let's say you clean your box up and you take your hands and you just start touching on the side of the paint.
Yeah.
You won't see the fingerprints.
Now it's a powder coat, right? So it's strong.
It is.
So if you bang into it with a hammer, I mean, eventually you can chip it or something like that.
If you try hard enough, you can scrape through it, but it's a bonded surface to the metal. It's very durable, very durable.
So what is your favorite color that you've got coming out, or that you've got out now?
Well, the one that I had, my favorite right now, we call Storm. It's a darker gray, and I like that with the black drawer pulls. That's just my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, of course, I'm partial to the orange, but you've got some colors coming out that are really cool.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
We won't talk about that right now because they're not out yet, right?
No, they're not out yet, and believe me, if any of our dealers hear this, my phone's going to ring going, what's the color? What's the color? You know, did you finally do this one that I've been asking for 2 years?
Well, I tell you what, another thing that we talk about a lot here on the show and on the podcast is the connection of music to cars and that kind of thing. And believe it or not, Don is a musician, and he's a very, very good one. And he plays the tuba.
I do.
Or bass.
I do.
And you play in a jazz band, correct?
I do. It's a community band I play in mostly.
Yeah. And you've been playing how long?
I started playing tuba when I was in high school. I did a little bit in college. Then I took about a 30-year break.
That's a long time, man.
Yeah, and then I went back, and it's fun. It's what I do that's different than work.
Yeah. And have you ever tried to take on another instrument like piano, guitar, anything like that?
No, I can play. I actually prefer to play baritone.
Yeah.
Because it's smaller and easier to carry.
Yeah.
Tuba is my second instrument. Third instrument would be trumpet.
Yeah.
But no, I don't do well with the guitar. This whole left hand, right hand. I just want to hold it, and 3 fingers is about all I'm good
I'm looking
for.
at that. It's like with the horn instrument. I mean, you're blowing into it. You're doing all kinds of stuff. It's like I'd much rather do guitar.
Well, it's like it's like God gives you one hand that works great, and another one doesn't work at all.
Oh yeah.
And it's like I just hold the instrument with that hand.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So what's new for Cornwell coming out this year? Anything else besides the ARCA box?
We introduce probably 5 to 10 new products every single week.
Yes.
We just introduced Vapor, the white color, and Lightning Yellow, our second most popular color, in our Platinum line. So that was introduced last week.
The big question that I get from a lot of people is, how can they buy Cornwell tools if they are not affiliated with the dealer? How do they hook up with the dealer? So the guy that has the shop or whatever, he's like, I hear this all the time. People are like, well, I want to buy Cornwell tools, but I don't know where to find them.
You really need to go to a Cornwell dealer.
Yeah.
That's your first spot. The other thing is if you have a passion for tools, things like that, consider becoming a franchisee for Cornwell and own your own business.
Yeah.
And then if there's no Cornwell dealer around, you can be that dealer.
You're that guy.
Yeah.
And you can have those awesome toolboxes and...
And whatever your favorite color is.
Yeah, that is... Well, Don, thank you for coming by, man. That was great.
My pleasure.
We will have you back again, man.
Cool. Thank you.
Can't get enough gears? Make sure to check out the Tales of the Gearhead podcast, where Stacey brings a lifetime of automotive knowledge, friendships, and expertise to the listener. Also, check out our social media channels for updates and videos of Gears projects, as well as special contests, giveaways, and events. If you have a vehicle you want to enter into What Are You Working On?, go to staceydavid.com and submit it. There's also the online store and tons of other Gearhead information that will encourage you to get out there, build something, and go drive it.
All right, we've got a lot of great questions here today. You hear all that rattling of paper? That's your questions. So we're going to jump right into these. We got some great ones here. Okay, so the first one up says, hey, Stacey, what is your best lint-free shop towel to use? He says, I have struggled to find shop towels that are better than old t-shirts. It's kind of hard to find that, man. I used old t-shirts for a long time until I ran out, just like Mike says he has. He says the best thing that he's found are these Wipe-All X60s. He said the problem is he can't use the standard red ones that are at the auto parts store because they snag on everything, and more importantly, they leave lint all over everything. Yeah, most of the shop towels that you find down at the auto parts stores are kind of a cleanup hand towel kind of thing, almost a drying towel. And like the Scott towels that you get there, they're okay. They're not bad. But what I use almost all the time come from Pig, P-I-G, and they're just called the wipers, the Pig wipers. And you can get these in red, you can get them in blue, you can get them in white. And the thing that I like about the pig towels is that they got some substance to them. They're not just for drying things. Matter of fact, you don't want to use them to dry a paint job or something like that because these things are a little coarse and they're hard to rip. So they're great for wiping grease off of things, getting grease off your hands, cleaning up rear ends, that kind of stuff. They are a shop towel, and they are the best thing. I actually like them better than any kind of fabric because they won't hardly rip. I use them to tape things off for painting. I use them in all kinds of ways. They're not the cheapest thing out there. So I don't recommend using them as a dry-off towel by your wash bin. For those, use a regular, hand towel, Bounty or whatever that you would use in your kitchen, and leave your shop towels over there on rolls by your work areas for cleaning grease and that kind of stuff. But if you haven't checked out the pig products, check them out. Safety Clean carries them. It's a great brand. Okay, this next question comes from Rich. And Rich's question makes me laugh, man. He says, "Hey, Stacey, other than the Lincoln Continental with suicide doors, is there ever a situation when a 4-door or a long bed truck are more desirable?" Now, that might sound like an odd question to some of you guys, but if you grew up in a certain era or around certain cars, you know that nobody drove a 4-door. They were just uncool. They were grandma's car. They were just not something that you didn't want. And they weren't the most attractive cars. And the same sort of mentality went to a long bed pickup. Long bed pickup was considered just to be a farm truck. It wasn't the sporty short bed thing. But that's always been kind of the stigma. But keep in mind, it's not that the 4-doors were bad cars. It's not that the long bed trucks were bad trucks. It was just a cultural thing. And most of the time when people were racing, which the main type of racing at the time for cars was drag racing or some sort of circle track or that kind of thing, well, you wanted the shorter vehicles. They were lighter, they were more nimble, they just worked better as a performance vehicle. Same thing with a truck. If you were getting it into town, well, you didn't want to mess around with a long bed truck trying to park it at Home Depot back then. So, needless to say, the 2-doors and the short beds were more desirable. Okay, getting to Rich's question, there has been a generational pull toward the 4-door vehicles and the longer bed trucks. It's been going on for 20 years or more. For example, look out in the parking lot. Think of the vehicle you drove today to work or that you're driving right now. Chances are it's a 4-door pickup or a 4-door SUV. And what has happened over the years is that designers have made the 4-door vehicles far more attractive than they used to be. I mean, the 4-door Charger, it's a good-looking car. I still would like it to be a 2-door. But most people, they like it. Most of these SUVs, 4-door trucks, my everyday driver is a 4-door pickup with a short bed. But it's about the same length as a long bed pickup from back in the day. So we've not only gotten used to driving 4-door vehicles, but also longer, bigger trucks, and they are now the accepted cool. So, for example, my young daughters the other day, when I was showing them a vehicle that was a 2-door, their first question was, well, where's the other doors? How do we get in? They didn't like it. They liked a 4-door vehicle. And see, their generation, as they grow up and get older, they are going to want the 4-door vehicles. And I see a lot of them like at these auctions now. Greg, who works here, he just picked up a 4-door Dart, which is really cool, and everybody likes it. Nobody would have thought about getting that a few years ago. But people are starting to look at that stuff and jump into it. So the question is, are they more desirable? That's already kind of changing. I don't know if they'll ever completely supplant the 2-doors or the short bed trucks as just, the ultimate cool. But they are bringing some good prices. Now, your question, Rich, if it's about what is going to be valuable, well, that's a completely different question because desirable and valuable are two different things. Desirable is something that you want. Valuable is something that you'll actually pay the money for. And I always use as that illustration the El Camino. You ask any guy, they love the El Camino. Almost everybody loves the El Camino, but very few people will ever buy one. Why is that? Because when they start to look at it, if you're looking at like a classic El Camino that looked like a Chevelle, it's like, well, with the El Camino, I basically have a two-door and a bed that I really won't use. So I'd rather buy a Chevelle. So that's what they do. They like an El Camino, but they don't. And that's kind of the thing that you could run into with the two-door, four-door thing when it comes to collectability. So I would say that if you're looking for something that is got the top collectible value or the top, desire, I would still stay with a two-door or a short bed truck. But that is rapidly changing, and a four-door done well is now something that is doing well at shows and stuff. So don't discount it just because it's a four-door or a long bed. I hope that helps, Rich. It really boils down to what do you like, man, and what do you see yourself driving? So it's up to you, man. Okay, this question comes from Justin, and Justin is building an early 90s 4x4 Chevy 1500, and he says that this truck's going to be a tow truck. It's going to be used for pulling up to a 20-foot steel bed car hauler that'll be used for pulling junk vehicles out of sticky situations. Okay, we've all been there. He said, I am building a pump gas Vortec 350 backed by a 700R4 automatic. And he said the tires will probably be around 28 to 29 inches tall. He said he'd like to upgrade the gearing in the front and rear differentials as well eventually. I'd like to have as much torque and power as I can get, but I still want this to be streetable. Any suggestions on the engine combination would be really, really appreciated. Okay. Justin, it sounds like you got a great project going there. You've got it well thought out. My recommendation straight up would be a 383 stroker. And the reason being, for those of you that don't know, basically a 383 stroker is a 350 block bored 30 over, and then you put in a 400 crank. And what this does is it gives you a longer stroke. You get increased piston speed. It gives you more volume, so it pulls in more air, more fuel. Immediately, you're going to get more torque. You're going to get more power in lower RPMs, which is a great engine for what you're wanting to do. The 383 stroker, Blueprint Engines makes them. You can do your own out of your Vortec. They're not hard to do. Any machine shop will know exactly what you're wanting to do. This is kind of the torque engine for a small block Chevrolet. I would stick on some really nice heads while you're at it. Get some good airflow going there. Man, you'd easily be around 450, 500 horsepower without even trying. It's going to give you the power that you need. And another good thing about these strokers like this is that they build this power in low RPMs. You don't have to wind the engine up, which is all that torque that you're after. Now, as far as your transmission, 700R4 is a good choice. There's the 4L60s and stuff that are out there as well. If you're going to use a 700R4, I'd probably have one built for towing and hauling. There's a lot of places out there, a lot of transmission places that would do that for you. And just so you have the strength that you're after. On into your differentials and your gearing. Okay, a 28, 29-inch tall, 30-inch tall tire there's nothing wrong with that at all. That's a good-sized tire. It has an aggressive look. Personally, I'd go a little bigger. I'd go to 35, but I just like that look. I just like that combination, especially on a 1500 truck. As far as your axle gearing, now this is where it's going to get this is where you're going to have to make some choices. You say that you're going to be pulling vehicles out of sticky situations. You want as much torque and power as you need, but you also say you want it streetable. Okay, so you're going to have to decide what those parameters are, because generally you're talking your axle ratios are going to be about a 320 gear to a 390 gear. I think a 350 gear with a 700R4 and a 383 stroker is going to be exactly what you need. But if you want some more low-end grunt, then you need to go like a 390 or a 410 gear. I wouldn't go any lower than that, especially once you get it down into four-wheel drive. You're going to have some pulling power. The problem is if you go like a 390 gear, you're going to be losing some top-end highway speed and some fuel mileage. So going the other direction, if you go to a 320 gear, that's going to be great running down the road, but you might be a little lacking when you're getting ready to pull a trailer and pulling something out of a sticky situation. These are all questions depending on how you're going to use it. But that gets you in the ballpark. And then, as you're talking to your gearing, if you're going to Yukon Gear or Curry, tell them what you're doing. They'll have a recommendation for those axles for you on the way you're going to use it. But that's basically what I would do. I'd go with 383 stroker, the 700 R4, and a 350 gear. And you should be right in the pocket. Hopefully that helps you, Justin. Good luck. All right, that's our show for today, which means you need to get out there and start working on something. Spend some time turning wrenches. You'll love it. Also, make sure to check out our website, staceydavid.com. We got all kinds of new products, some great stuff there you're going to love. Also, make sure you check out our social media. That's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, all at Official Stacey David. Our social media is where you're going to find all the bonus content, the giveaways, the contests, the trivia. We even have extra viewer projects that we show everybody to focus on what you're working on. YouTube is where you're going to be able to find all of our episodes of Gears, past, present, and future. I know a lot of you guys ask about that. That's where you can see them. All right, that's all we got. We'll see you next time.